That's the other element, is the vehicles on our roads now are very disparate in terms of height.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, digital executive producer for Fox 61. I'm here on Capitol Avenue in Hartford because of a historical connection. Nearly 125 years ago, these buildings, along with several others nearby, were occupied by Pope Manufacturing. They built Columbia cars and bicycles. In 1898, part of their operations, the Electric Vehicle Company, unveiled the world's first electrical vehicle headlamp. Sadly, it failed because of the high operating costs and lack of funding. So Hartford missed out on its chance to shine as the headlight capital of the world. From that time until now, headlights have changed a lot. In the Roaring '20s, acetylene gave way to sealed beams. In the 1950s, two headlights became four. In the disco years, round headlights became rectangular, and halogen shed more light on the road. Composite headlamps made cars look sleeker in the 1980s, and high-intensity discharge lights took their turn on the stage. In the past 25 years, adaptive headlights, laser headlights, matrix LED systems have pushed the boundaries of lighting on cars and trucks, bringing both visibility and energy efficiency while improving the looks of cars. All of this comes at a cost. Complaints abound that the headlights on other cars are too bright. And there's the cost of replacing lights, which have skyrocketed. Why is that happening, and how are car makers working on solutions? We'd like to welcome Jen Stockberger from Consumer Reports. And your title is, Jen?
I'm the Director of Operations at the Auto
Oh,
Test Center here.
awesome. So we're talking about headlights today. And when I talk to people about cars, one of the most pressing issues that people have, and I'm sure you've heard it too, is why are they so bright?
Mhm.
And it's a variety of factors, but could you explain why that happens?
Yeah, so certainly we've seen some changes over the last, say, 10 years. And one of the reasons Consumer Reports started looking and testing headlights in 2004 is the changes, where we went from a sealed beam halogen lamp to a replaceable bulb with a real bulb halogen lamp to the next iterations, which were notably not just brighter, but whiter. And those were what they called the high intensity discharge in the mid 2000s, and now the light emitting diode, the LED headlight, which is what we're seeing predominantly on new vehicles now. So there's been a progression, whiter, brighter, definitely more noticeable.
And is there something that people could do about it? The driver of the car itself, or the person who's has like the landing lights coming back from behind them?
Yeah, I think the other element that's added to it is the different stature of vehicles. So now you have these whiter, brighter LEDs, and now whether you're in a small SUV or a sedan, when you're being either approached or even followed by a large SUV or a large pickup, that's the other element, is the vehicles on our roads now are very disparate in terms of height. So that adds to the equation. I think alignment becomes critical too in terms of maintenance. When vehicles now have misaligned headlights, so much more noticeable because they're bright. So as the driver, I think the biggest thing you can do, and there's documents and research that says, as drivers, we tend to look right at them. I don't know why we do it, but we do. But the one thing you can do, particularly in those occasions when it's really noticeable or they've left their high beams on, is to try and look away. My mother is an older driver. I tell her, look at the white line on the right side of the road so that you're maintaining your lane, but not necessarily exposing your eyes to all of that blast of light.
There is a an actual name for looking towards the light. I don't remember what it is, and I'll put it up in the on the screen here. But there's a specific name for what that habit is, what that
Yeah.
process is. Um, the other thing I think about when I think about headlights like this is, first off, for a long time, headlights in the U.S. were way behind the rest of the world.
Yep.
Um, and have we caught up? Is there more to do? Um, I, I, I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, so certainly when I mentioned that high intensity discharge, that HID lamp that was becoming so much more popular, particularly on high-end cars in the mid 2000s, it got leapfrogged by the LEDs. And so now, yes, you are seeing LEDs on your Toyota Corolla and you're seeing them on your high-end Mercedes. So that LED technology has certainly caught up. And the whole reasons that headlights became so important is, I don't know if you're familiar, but the one area of crash that has gotten worse is for pedestrians. Pedestrian
Mm,
fatalities continue to creep up year
right.
over year. 2023 was the first year in a long time where they came down a little bit, but 78% of pedestrian fatalities happen at night, as you might expect. So this thought about how do we make headlights give better visibility, better distance. And the other advantage of LEDs is they don't use a lot of power. You get longer life. They don't use a lot of energy, which leaves battery power or other power for other safety systems in the car. These are where LEDs became the preferred technology across the world, not just in the United States.
And it also allows the manufacturers a lot more options when it comes to design. I mean, when the cars had four round sealed headlights, then all of a sudden going to rectangular and then composite and all those things gave a lot more options for the designers too.
Absolutely. When you see, light bars, I think of our Tesla Cybertruck that's sitting in our garage with this big long LED bar that goes across, or a swooping headlight on a sports car. It used to be when they tried to do that with a bulb, it was a compromise to visibility. Now, with these pinpoint LED sources combined together, they can get the performance with the styling. There are too some really good potential technologies where LEDs are super conducive to. And one of them coming is this, what they call the adaptive driving beam, where essentially picture you have like a tic-tac-toe board of LEDs. And when a car is approaching or you're following a car, it can individually shut off certain squares of the tic-tac-toe board to shield oncoming drivers or follow drivers from glare. So you keep a bunch of your visibility and reduce the glare. We have not yet seen that technology really come to fruition on US
Mm.
roads. But that's one element that bulbs cannot do. They can't shut themselves off in pieces, but LEDs can.
And that leads to, I looked up something the other day, and if my numbers aren't exactly correct, I feel like it's close. This becomes really expensive to replace.
Yeah, so and we're certainly seeing LED replacements. You're doing the entire housing. There's no more bulb. So yes, if you're in a crash, you are realizing higher replacement costs. Certainly of the level of I'm no longer just replacing a bulb by myself. It's going to be
Mhm.
a claim in most cases. And we're seeing this with other safety features as well. We talked about sensors and cameras in your windshield and all of those that where it used to be a modest repair, now it can be a very expensive repair. And I think that we haven't yet realized the shift to the benefits of avoiding more crashes with some of these technologies. We're in the bridge where we're paying more for the crashes that are happening.
And um, it also strikes me that there's some cars that are coming out. The Cybertruck is quasi one of them, where they
Yeah.
don't have a back window.
Right.
There's a Polestar coming out that doesn't have a back window. There's several
Right.
other ones that the new Jaguar, whatever that um, is that kind of the option for people?
Well, of course, now everything has a Certainly that's going to reduce your glare in this conversation, but everything has a backup camera. Do you really need it? Certainly you and I, as traditional drivers, are going to have a really hard time because we
Yeah.
use our mirrors. We turn and look. It's just a habit that we've developed. A new driver that never had a back window or a rear window view, as the tonneau cover on the Cybertruck eliminates, will they notice it as much? Probably not. They'll be much more reliant on the cameras. With that said, I will say that sometimes the cameras and sensors are obscured. We certainly see, vehicles when it's pouring rain, when there's ice and snow. The first thing your car tells you is your cameras cannot see, your advanced driver assistance systems are not working, your cameras are not working, your backup camera is obscured. So I really think there's a balance between what is called direct vision, what you can actually see as a person, and indirect vision, what the car is
Right.
helping you see.
And I think about, I have a Forester, and
Yep,
one of the things I love about the Forester is that you can see out everywhere,
yep,
and I know exactly what you're saying. I have a friend who has a pickup truck, and I drive, and he'd be like, "No, the camera's there. Use the camera." And I'm like, "No, I need to
yeah.
see what's out the back." Yeah,
It's a little bit of retraining for
yeah,
us, for sure.
yeah, yeah. Um, and here's my question. I don't know if you have an answer for this. Uh, is there a tried and true method for getting rid of yellowed headlight, covers?
Yeah, so we certainly have had our experiences here. We've done what they call the headlight restoration kits. It is a polycarbonate layer on a plastic headlight lens or cover that tends to yellow over time, particularly where you have hot climates, lots of UV exposure. The quicker. My son is driving an older vehicle right now, and his need done. I'll be honest with you, those headlight restoration kits, they absolutely do work. What you're going to see is a much clearer lens, much more light getting out,
Yeah.
definitely advantage. The truth is, though, that you're probably going to have to do it again in a year or so. They're
Okay.
not a permanent fix. So it's something you're going to have to watch for, something you're going to have to maintain on an older vehicle for sure.
And I think the other thing, you brought up the Cybertruck, and a friend of mine let me borrow his for a day,
Yeah,
and it didn't. Once I saw it, I realized that this was a problem. Is that the way that headlight, which is the lower light, is
right.
in there? It's a catch-all for snow and for debris and stuff like that. And and I mean, I can driving in the snow, the heat of the headlights would melt that stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
that doesn't happen anymore.
no, so LEDs do not generate the heat that a halogen bulb would. So that's
Mhm.
one. In an internal combustion engine, you certainly have some heat from the engine that's working behind those LEDs.
Right.
But on an EV, it's even more pronounced because you don't have engine heat building up. We're seeing a lot more EVs come with this heat pump idea where you are getting just a heat pump to create some heat that wouldn't naturally be developed by an EV to do things like clear snow, heat your cabin, put some warmth behind your headlights. But if you have, certainly LED headlights, which many, if you have a current model vehicle, you probably do, and an EV combined, you are going to need to pay extra attention to making sure headlights are cleared.
Yeah. All right. Anything we missed in this discussion?
Yeah, I think the one thing, and I get it. I'm already at a point where I'm taking care when I'm driving at night
Mhm.
with glare. And I'm not young, but I'm not what I consider an older driver yet. I'm almost 60, but I already feel that there are physiological reasons why our eyes don't react as well to changing
Right.
light as we age. there's corneal hardening, macular degeneration. And I'm not talking about the disease macular degeneration, but just a natural degrading of our eyes' functions. For what NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, found, again, this was when the HIDs were introduced, they were flooded by complaints of people saying, oh my gosh, it's so discomforting. It hurts my eyes. I can't drive at night. What they found in their research is absolutely they were discomforting, particularly to older drivers. Again, this idea of not looking at them, looking away. But their research found that it wasn't a cause for crashes. Yes, it was a momentary, very disconcerting when it's out there, particularly in wet weather where the glare is compounded, but it wasn't a cause for crashes. So there's a little bit of training on our part to say, hey, the advantages of the brighter, whiter, far-reaching light may be outweighing the disadvantages. So for, again, the people that are cognizant that their eyes aren't working as well, stay on familiar roads, watch your weather, look away. And kind of we get to the point where what we do is self-regulate. Maybe that's not a trip I want to make in the dark. And it's unfortunate, but it's real. And
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah. Um, my mom certainly limits her driving at night for all those reasons. Yeah. All right. This has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Sure. It was nice
Um,
to meet you. Keep watching
thanks.
Talking Cars.